In this episode, we're going to make sure that you have the best of all that you will spend your time with. So we're going to ensure that we talk about issues that are essential to your academic life or to your daily life. You know, a lot of you have always longed for edition of a podcast like this. And you must have been listening to a lot of podcasts or watching a lot of this in YouTube. But this is special because what we were talking about will be some essential and phenomenological issues. Yeah.
I'm interested in podcasts, particularly because I wanted to find a host who can talk about philosophy in a very relatable way, because I don't need any images to interfere with my mind when I am thinking about philosophy or listening to philosophy. So podcast is the best media for me. That's why I am here. I think you can explain a lot of philosophical ideas in that way.
Yeah, this is true because philosophy, before it turns to an academic enterprise, it was just a way of life in the ancient period, you know, in every societies. So in the African society, the Chinese society, the Roman, the Greeks and everything, they have people who are philosophers. And so philosophy is supposed to be something that should be relatable before it has been made technical.
May I ask what brought you to philosophy from the very beginning?
Yeah, I was a science student, and my personal life ambition then was to be a medical doctor. And I did very well in Phyc and Bio, which we call the physics, chemistry, and biology. Until a day after my secondary school, I was preparing for my undergraduate studies in medicine. And I saw some young people having this conversation, you know, for hours, non-stop. And they were not looking at anything. They just having this intelligent kind of debate, conversation, enlightening, you know. And I was like, ask them, what did you study? And they said philosophy. I just started going on philosophy. And when I got them, I'm like, I got it, Dad. I'm studying philosophy. And the rest is history.
Do you remember what they were talking about?
Yeah, they were talking about meaning of life. So they were just talking about, from there they moved to happiness, you know. And you know, so that we just like, oh, what is life all about? Do we just come and we die? So why are we here? You know, okay, and all this talk about, yeah, maybe we should just be happy because we're not going to be here forever. And the other person still asks, what then is happiness? And that was like, yeah, eat good food, you know. And that one said, but how does that bring happiness? So they from one concept, they moved to another concept. You know, so from life to happiness, from what happiness into food or what makes you happy into drinking or comfort or pleasure, then they move to what is pleasure. From what is pleasure, they move to. So there's this thing about philosophy is an unending conversation in which people are not having arguments in order to win an argument, but in order to understand. And the course of understanding, they still have more to understand. If you're going to engage in conversation, you have to be thinking on your feet. And the act of thinking on your feet is actually what I think every society, not just an academic institution, every society engage with that. Actually, society that seeks meaning. And if you look at the history of the world, you realize people ask the question, what makes this stone to be special than this stone? Where do we come from? How should we live our life? So these are questions that every society. Some people will say they give some mythological response. So
can I ask another question that's very relevant?
Yes.
No? Can you give us your definition of philosophy?
Yes, my own definition of philosophy comes from basically the etymology, which is love of wisdom. So just moving away from wisdom, and that can be complex a little bit, but we can say philosophy is wisdom. Talking about life in a search to understand, right? So you talk about life, the word, and the human person, all the areas, in order to understand it. And that is just And it's like from the etymology, is more or less talking about those who are involved in it. But we can talk about not just lovers of wisdom, but basically what every curious person does, trying to unravel the mystery behind even our day-to-day experience, others around us, the universe around us, the world, things that we can see and the ones we can't see, and all there is. That's what philosophy is all about.
Can you give us an example? For example, the suit you're wearing. Can you explain this in terms of phenomenology?
Yeah, just for the sake of our audience, the Greek term she just mentioned, which we are going to try to avoid when we're having this podcast, is a philosophical jargon, which just means trying to say appear to us. So noumena is as they are in themselves, and phenomena is as they appear to us. As the suit I'm wearing, you see, if you look at it when, let's say, when the studio light is off, the way it's going to appear to you is different. If you look at it in the dark, the way it's going to appear to you is different. If you use another camera and another lighting, it's going to appear different. So the whole thing is, does this suit now as the way it appears in itself? Now, we are using suit as this example. It could be human technology relations. It could be humans to human relations. It could be, so any sort of relationship like that is also a subject for conversation in philosophy. A philosophical mindset should reject whatever that has been given, like some things that are laid down, without getting a kind of a satisfactory explanation. And that takes you a little bit from the thought of curiosity to the point of, why should you think about things when things people have thought about it? But no, a curious mind is looking for how better we can explain it. Where do we get to where we are? What is this all about? And at some point, it's either argue against or, for. And that is one essential aspect of philosophy, which is more or less like there's this salient argumentative future. And argument in philosophy is quite different from the way you might understand argument. Some people understand argument like people trying to make points in order to have a kind of an outstanding opinion that is going to overshadow the others, or people having competition or debate or quarreling. No, that's not philosophy. Philosophical sense of argument is about you taking a position which you're going to consider as a conclusion, and providing reasons for your conclusions. We don't argue to win. So at the end of the day, when we have this conversation, it is not to arrive at who has a superior position or whose position is. No, we argue to understand. True, if you look at it from the point of view of not everyone in the society would want to be questioning and be curious. So that means there has to be some people who will be considered as the philosophers in the society who are giving meaning to things, and others just accept that meaning in order to move on with their life. Because you don't have to wake up and start questioning, so why am I here? Or you go to the market and you are saying, so what is the meaning of purple? That's going to be like somebody who is not feeling fine.
That's also why in some of the company,
yes,
the boss would employ philosophers.
Exactly, because
to give the ultimate guidelines.
Exactly,
everyone.
I once had a role like that. When a company, a software development company, hired me as to and the boss was excited for the first time, like, oh, we have a philosopher here, and he actually wanted me to attend every meeting. So he wanted me to attend the meetings of the graphics designer. He wanted me to attend the meeting of the programmers who are writing the code. He wanted me to attend the meeting of those doing the prototypes, and it feels that I must have a question. But I'll be honest with you, I was the most annoying person in all those rooms, because I started seeing things that they don't want you to see. And that is actually the role of a philosopher. Basically, in the history of the world, we can actually say in every society, not everyone develops that curiosity. If we look at the ancient Greek society, you realize that they talk about Socrates being killed or being asked to commit suicide because he was questioning everything, right? And there are many things you can question. We have questioned the clothes we're wearing, which is a little bit talking about the aesthetics. If you start questioning life, you're talking about the existentialism. If you start questioning things as they are in themselves and as they appear to us, you say phenomenology. If you start questioning why we make a decision and which one is good or bad, we're going to talk about ethics. If you start questioning how do you know that we know this, is this true or false, you're talking about epistemology. But a lot of people will be comfortable, like the case of Socrates was, he started asking questions about what is good or bad. And it's a little bit affecting, making people to think, whatever we have been told that are good, what makes it good? And it was said to be corrupting the youth, right? And actually eventually asked to commit suicide, right? And even his own understanding of death was quite different. And that is what we're talking about there. For people, is a natural thing to a lot of people to question, to investigate, to be curious. And you will realize that children do that a lot. It's like we're born with that natural curiosity. But there's a point, as we are social beings, we are growing in the society, and that takes us back to your position. The society gives us makes us pass through the process of socialization, which we have to absorb the meaning, interpretations, and the semantics that it gives to syntax. Hi guys, thank you very much for joining us in this episode. In the next episode, we're going to do justice to some of the concepts we've started with, and we hope you're going to have a very nice and lovely day.